Hey guys, so today's video we're going to be going over a frequently asked question, and that is, what is title insurance? So a lot of people when they go to buy a house are wondering, what is this? Should I get title insurance? What is it even checking? How does it help me? And everything like that. So I'll be diving into those details for you right now. So what happens is there's a title company. They usually have an attorney over that title company, and what they're doing is they're going to pull a title search. So as you as the buyer, they're going to vet that seller and make sure they're the rightful owner on the recorded county records, that they're the owner of that property and can rightfully sign and sell that property to you. Then they're also going to be checking the chain of title. So the previous seller, the one before them, and they go check all those records back over time and over the years. And they're just making sure that they were all legitimate sales, that there's no fraud or any deceit going on in any of those previous sales. And then they're also searching for all the public records and recorded records on if there's any loans on there that need to be paid off to rightfully be able to transfer that property. Because what happens when there's a lien on a property, it's basically a lender saying like, hey, I have a $100,000 loan on this property. Before this seller sells it to a new buyer, this loan needs to be paid according to the obligation that's agreed upon with me and the seller. Right? So they're just making sure all those obligations have been paid off. There's other liens as well. If you're behind on your taxes, you can actually get a tax lien. So they're checking to make sure, hey, the city's like, hey, I haven't received taxes for 2 or 3 years on this property. Those need to be paid before you can sell this property to someone else. This seller doesn't deserve to get, 10 grand profit or 20 grand profit or whatever without first paying his obligations that he's due. There's IRS liens, other things like that. There's back taxes, also like a home equity line of credit, so second liens or things like that. They're checking for all of those records. There could also be contractor liens. So if I as a homeowner paid a contractor or agreed with a contractor to renovate my house for 20 grand and I only pay him 10 grand or none of it, but he actually completed all the work, he can actually file a contractor lien on that property, yet again stating, hey, this property cannot be sold unless my obligation's been paid. Okay, so it's just making sure everything's been done fair, no funny business is going on when it's being sold. Then also they're checking kind of the survey, the line survey of the property, making sure like this is the actual land that's being transferred over, that there's no other buildings from another owner over it. They're checking if there's any easements. An easement is like where sometimes the fire department or the police or the electrical company can have a right of passage through the property through a certain line or some way around it to fix the, access to a fire hydrant or fix something. So it's checking for easements, just making sure those are all secure and everything like that. That's usually for like larger land or things like that. Conflicting wills as well, like, when someone inherits the property, right? Let's say a seller dies and they have 10 grandkids or 10 kids that inherit the property. Just making sure their will is lined up that either all of them inherit it or one. And if it is inherited, making sure all those people agree that, hey, yes, we have a portion of this property ownership and we rightfully all agree to sell it to this new buyer, and making sure all those proceeds are getting split in the right way to all the heirs. So it's really checking a lot of things, really protecting you as the buyer and you as the seller, that everything's being done justly and fairly in this transaction and big transaction you're making. So then there's two types of a title insurance. So there's a lender's title insurance, so a lender's title policy. So if you're going to get a loan on a property, I would say 99% of lenders are going to want a lender's title policy. That's basically all these things are being checked by the title company, usually an attorney with some administrative staff under that attorney. And they're usually a third party, right? Not really related to the buyer or the seller, right? A third party neutral person that is obligated by law, knows the laws of the land and the city and the county and the state to make sure this sale is being done fairly. So they're checking, and they're just basically, they'll pay out like a portion or a fee to make sure that's like basically insurance, stating that all these previous sales and all these judgments are clear, and that when the lender does loan to you, the new buyer on this property, that if these other things arise, that something was missed by the title attorney or a signature wasn't done right or not done by the right person without the legal authorization, that actually still guarantees their loan amount with insurance. You know, kind of like car insurance, right? If you get in an accident, well, this is like, well, if the accident is the title wasn't ran right and something was missed, you know, a lien wasn't paid or some funny business was going on, that it still is securing the lender's title policy, right? And this actually just protects the lender. So it really doesn't protect you as the buyer, the lender's title policy. So what you're going to want to get is something called an owner's title policy. And that's protecting you. If any of these previous sales that happened in all the past, right? It could even be 3 people before the current seller, something wasn't done right. And that could actually pop up years and decades later in the court of law of like, oh, hey, I was not paid off on my loan years ago, or hey, I was actually one of the heirs on this property years ago and someone, you know, sold it on my behalf. So that can pop up. So that's protecting you. And what it really is protecting you from all the previous stuff, not future stuff that's going on. So yeah, those are pretty much it. So what I would say is yes, 100% get an owner's title policy, and the lender requires you to get a lender's title policy typically if you're getting a loan. I mean, that'd be silly of them not to have, you know, pay $500 to $1,000 to protect a big $100,000 loan or anything like that. And you yourself, if you're buying an asset, you're going to want that. So we always, of course, as the sellers here at Memphis Investment Properties, when we sell a house to you, and actually when we buy the house to fix it up ourselves, we are always checking the title work. We have great, reputable, you know, long-term relationships with title attorneys here in town with great reputations that are checking the title, making sure everything's clear and straight. So that way when we own it and we are going to sell it to you and your lender, they'll all feel good and comfortable, and yourself feel comfortable that this title is clear and everything like that. So long-winded story there, but hopefully that helps you understand a little bit more about title work, how that works in real estate, and how to really mitigate this for yourself with some title insurance policies. Definitely recommended. Thank you so much, guys. If you've listened all the way up to here and you have not subscribed, shame on you. You guys need to be subscribing to our YouTube channel, supporting us, helping us put out more great content and answers to all your real estate questions, financial life, anything else in between, a little bit about us as well. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.